and HD Boston. 98.5 The Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
All right, some news for the World Cup today. Florian Balogun will play for Team USA's round of 16 match against Belgium, according to The Athletic. Kickoff is slated for Monday night at 8 p.m. And World Cup results from yesterday include Morocco defeating Canada 3-0, and France held off a scare from Paraguay with a 1-0 victory. And today's slate includes Brazil and Norway at 4 p.m. ahead of the nightcap between Mexico and England at 8 p.m. Last night, the Red Sox defeated the Angels 8-1 in Los Angeles. But don't worry, they're still 9 games below 500. They're back in action tonight at 9:30 for the series finale against the Angels. And Sports Up headlines, they are brought to you by Jeep. ICANN, you can't spell American without it. During the Jeep Make This Summer sales event, celebrate 250 years of the country that can with a great deal on the vehicles that always can. I'm Jake Seymour for Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Dondero will have you next at 3 p.m.
Listen to it, laugh at it, get mad at it, agree with it, argue about it. It is Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5 The Sports Hub. No matter what team, no matter what player, no matter what coach, no matter what game, it all happens here. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Of this salary structure and the apron and the second apron and what teams are going to have to do. My guess is they'll get creative or they'll pay that second apron, the tax that requires the tax that's required if you're going to go into the second apron, and they're going to keep their stars or whatever. Some teams will do that. We saw the Warriors get involved with that some years ago. We've seen other teams, be okay with spending and having to pay some of the taxes. There'll be a Dodgers of the NBA out there. The biggest thing, though, with this Jaylen Brown news and this Jaylen Brown trade, I'm just sad. I'm just bummed. It's twofold. Number one, I'm so, disappointed in the way analytics has taken over sports. It's such an unattractive way to view sports. I didn't play professional sports, but, I played enough to know where if that was something that was getting shoved down my throat all the time at every turn, I don't know how you would handle that as an athlete. I don't know how they deal with that. I don't know if that happens or if they're so intimately involved with the analytics. I don't know. It's clear to me that Jaylen Brown was traded, one, because of his analytical value, and two, because of his contract. Two disgusting reasons. But I'm just bummed. 617-779-0985. I'm just bummed because this takes the Celtics out of play for a championship. And I'm sorry if I'm sorry that I know that to be a fact. We all should know that to be a fact because we all watched for 20 years and studied what winning was all about for 20 years. We know what championship teams are made of. We know what they're not made of. And this is not a situation that breeds a championship type of effort. The Celtics are off the map in terms of winning a championship, and that bums me out. I'll have to, like Jaylen Brown, kind of rewire my brain. It's going to take me a second. Analyzing a team that's definitively not a championship caliber group is going to be tough and difficult, and especially when you know that on the surface, that doesn't appear to be, at least in the short term, what they're interested in pursuing. You can't lose a player like that and win a championship. Now, again, I don't know where the league is going to go. Maybe by the extension of all these different financial stipulations and these aprons and taxes, no team will be able to have multiple superstars. I don't know. Like I said, I doubt that will be the case. I think teams will find a way. Philadelphia, their roster right now is loaded. They're going to have to pay people, and I'm sure they'll figure something out to avoid going down to just one superstar. That's my guess. When you look around the league, a lot of teams have more than one superstar, if not all of them. Not all of them, but all of the ones that are actual contenders. The Celtics do not now. So, you want me to cover a team that isn't a contender, I'll do it, the way I know how. But we can't. I mean, we can't talk about. If you think I'm going to sit here and dry hump the numbers on a spreadsheet and these analytical, types of narratives that are being thrown around, it's just not going to happen. It doesn't matter. Okay, those numbers are a farce, and that was all that is. Are these people that had no business working in sports wedging themselves into professional sports? That's all that is. Okay? It has gone way overboard. It is not in any way, shape, or form a solution to any problem in sports. They need to be consulted at most. At most, you consult somebody, one person who maybe studies those numbers that could offer some insight to give you an edge. That is the extent that analytics should be involved in professional sports. And instead, we have organizations getting run by them. Disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. Okay? Shame on those people that have ruined sports. Shame on the owners that fell for it. John Henry. I don't know what Bill Chisholm's going to say tomorrow. I wanted to go. I'm not going to be able to go to the press conference. I was denied. No person cares, Bill Chisholm, about your bottom line and your business dealings. The operation from a business perspective, not one fan gives a rip about. I'm sorry. They only care about the winning. So if this was a move to create salary, to save money, and then you used analytics as an excuse, which is probably what happened. I mean, I guess that's why you're able to sleep at night, because you used analytics to tell yourself that Jaylen Brown actually isn't worth the money he's being paid. Whatever. Okay? Whatever it was, this wasn't an effort that's going to help you yield a champion now. The only way that this becomes acceptable, and if you think I'm going to sit here and give the Celtics credit for this right now, you're crazy. The only way this becomes acceptable is if the NBA completely changes and all the other teams have to follow suit and get rid of their other max player. That's the only way. Because you have abandoned the prime of Jason Tatum. You have gone into business full-time with Jason Tatum, which I think could have been a mistake. As much as I appreciate Tatum's game, I don't think his leadership is up to the task to put him in this type of role. And now as we go forward, we're not going to be able to talk about a true championship run. It'll be, can the Celtics make it a series against the Knicks? Something like that. Can they stay competitive and give themselves a chance to win at the end? Something like that. It's not going to be a true analysis of the pursuit of a possible championship. We don't have that anymore in this town. Outside of the New England Patriots, they're the only ones left as of now. Red Sox out the door. Bruins too far away. Celtics radicalized by analytics. Ruined. That was if they stopped shooting the threes. At least they had a chance to change that and alter their, approach in that regard and maybe get back to what wins. That was within their control. Now it's out of their control. They don't have the players. They don't have the roster. They don't have what it takes. And they have officially gone down a tier. Okay? And again, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right? If you don't like what I'm saying, I'm sorry. That's the facts. Those are the facts. You don't win when you give away stars in basketball. That's what matters. That is the data that matters. So you can throw all this efficiency at me and the ratings and the record that the Celtics had or their offensive output when Jaylen Brown was on the floor versus when he was off the floor. I don't care about any of that. Okay? And I'm right not to care about that. And I'm not right just because I'm biased towards my own opinion. No, I'm right. That's what it's about. The players, the talent. And the owners fell for it, that this math was somehow more important than the human makeup of a team and its talent. Bunch of and you know what? I'm pissed at myself that for a second when I used to watch the movie Moneyball, I was actually rooting for that Jonah Hill character. I'm a disgrace that I even got to that point. You actually find yourself rooting for that garbage, and those scouts were the dinosaurs. You wanted them pushed away. God, what an idiot I was. They've ruined it. You know, I usually don't do this, but I'm taking a call in the first segment. Dan is in Rhode Island. Dan.
Hold on, Mark. I didn't think you were going to take a call in the first segment.
I don't care. I'm doing it because I can't believe what I'm reading here. Tell me.
Well, first of all, I agree with you. I would rather be waterboarded than talk analytics. I hate every single ounce about it. But I look at it this way. I think the Celtics were at a point, 15 years ago, with Pierce and Garnett, and when Ainge said, time has come, we're at an inflection point, we have to do something, this isn't going to work moving forward. I've been steadfast in belief that you're not going to win anything with Tatum and Brown anymore. I think they're done. I think you had a decade almost worth of it. I don't think that they're not going to build it the way that they need it to be successful. So I think this had to be done irregardless. I'm not into the analytics. I'm not into the return. It was pitiful. No one's going to argue that. But I think you're going to look back on this, and I'm not a big basketball guy, but I think Stevens knows what the hell he's doing. Mm-hmm. And I think it's gonna suck for a year or whatever his master plan is. Somehow, some way, a year or two from now, you're going to be saying, you know what? The guy's a genius. He did the right thing. Because I don't want Jaylen Brown making $70 million a year when he's 33 and 34, and that's exactly what they would have had to do, right? Mm-hmm. Am I wrong about that?
No, he would have commanded a huge chunk of the cap. That's true.
Yeah, and I just think that this is the time. He's 30 years old. The value thing, again, I can't even argue that because I just don't know why people. I get a crappy return. There's 1,000 reasons why, but I just think that they're going to figure it out. They have an idea about what they're doing, and a year or two from now, you're going to look at this a completely different way, and this team's going to have a much wider window with Tatum still in his somewhat prime, and instead of having Jaylen Brown when he's 33 or 34. That's the way I look at it. I'm trying to see the long game on this. That's all I'm saying. And it sucks right now. I agree with what you're saying. I would be pissed too. I just think it takes a lot of balls to do something like this. Ainge was able to do it. It worked out great. Red Auerbach didn't do it, and that's what buried the Celtics after the big three of the 80s. Okay. We're at one of those points. That's all.
All right, thanks.
Trying to take the long view, pal. Take care,
thanks,
bud.
Man. A lot to react to there. I don't agree with Dan. I'm not dismissing what he said entirely. And the question I would have, I have a few things I want to react to there. The question I would have is how long is that going to take? Because again, the data I'm interested in is comparing other teams' situations to the Celtics, meaning when they got rid of a top-notch talent that they had on their roster. How long did it take them to get back? And did you have time to get back? How long did it take the Lakers when they got rid of Shaq? Shaq left in what, 04, 05? Was it after the 04 finals? Is that when he... Okay. They didn't get back till 2000. That's 4 years. And that's the Lakers. Okay? The Celtics aren't the Lakers. Everybody wants to play for the Lakers. They end up getting Pau Gasol with an assist from... I don't know. Was that the commissioner? I don't remember. But that's the Lakers. Okay? When the Thunder traded away James Harden or let him go, took them a long time to get back. Okay? And they didn't have Kevin Durant anymore when they got back to the finals. It was at least a decade. More than 11 years, 12 years, 13, or whatever it was. More than a decade for them to get back to the finals. It's not easy. When you get rid of a guy that noteworthy on your roster, the evidence states the facts that you don't make it back anytime soon. You go down and out for a long time. Okay, the Minnesota Timberwolves just watched Karl Anthony Towns win the championship with the Knicks because he added that second, star alongside Jalen Brunson. Now Edwards isn't, he doesn't have his guy. Maybe he will with LaMelo Ball, but who knows? They're not in the conference finals anymore. Can't get back to that. Okay, the big three in 2008, that team had reached the end of the line, and you knew it. You knew it. They were all over 30. The Heat were firmly established. LeBron was there. They gave it their all in 2012. They still couldn't take him down. It was over. They went one more year just to it was over. And you knew that. You knew it. Everybody was comfortable. It sucked. Everybody at that time, though, was comfortable with the trade. Okay? You squeezed every last ounce out of that toothpaste tube from that group. Not the case here. Not the case here. There was more here. There were adjustments to make internally that could have gotten this team closer to what they were. And again, look, it's a big contract, but I refuse to either pay the tax or figure out a different way to get creative. Because offloading your star, Dallas Mavericks, doesn't work. It doesn't work. And you get set back for years. Jason Tatum's 28 years old? At best, he'll be in his early 30s when the Celtics have it. And that's fine. But once you hit the mid-30s, now you're talking about being an old NBA player. So there's not a lot of room there for error if you do get back to a situation where you're a contender. Not even you're going to win it necessarily, but you're a contender. You got maybe 2 years for whomever doesn't have that level of experience to get that level of experience, to get to the finals, to figure it out, and then to win it before Tatum's gone or shot or old or traded or all of the above. They ended the window involving Jason Tatum, and I disagree with Dan. I think that window's closed. I don't think he's going back, and I think a large part of that has to do with Tatum. He's a great player, but there are issues, leadership issues, other things, clutch, things that will hold this team back, that held them back with Brown. Now you don't even have Brown, who was the finals MVP. Man, you got issues. We'll see what happens with the league. We see you guys on the phone. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for taking my call. You know what? Everything you just said for the last, 10, 15 minutes, you're absolutely right. That guy, that first caller was absolutely wrong. I think not only do they lose a finals MVP and they're not going to go to the championship again, but you got the head coach. If you don't change his coaching style, he's absolutely not going to take them to the promised land again. And another thing is that they should have at least went up to Jaylen Brown and say, listen, can we try to extend you like in another 2 years and not in July? They should have talked to him, because maybe they could have made him change his mind by saying, hey, we're going to go for the chip. We're all in. You're a part of this. And that's basically it. But no, they just lost him, and they didn't, it didn't happen for some reason. They traded him for beans, actually. All right. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Thanks, Carlos. Yeah, I mean, here's a question. Again, the money you can get creative. Obviously, Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett were much older when they got, or not much older, but they were older when they got dealt, and obviously the Celtics got a lot more back. If you're not upset with what they got back, I don't know why you wouldn't be. Now let's see what happens with these picks. But what the Celtics got back in the Garnett-Pierce deal is the reason they had this Tatum and Brown era. So the return matters. I mean, Kevin Garnett, when they traded him to Brooklyn, was how old? 35? You're 35. 36. Jaylen Brown's not even 30. And you got less back. Pierce was a little younger, but still, he was over 30. Pierce was probably 34, 35 years old when they traded him, if not older. I think they might have both been older. What year did that trade happen? 2013? Pierce was like 36. Garnett was probably 37 years old.
Years from now, 3 years from now, that I'm going to look good. No, Brad Stevens is going to never look like a genius because you gave away something to get, to me, financial. You lost a player that can help you win versus what you could do down the line, which is winning your pocket. So they didn't do the right thing by the Celtics trying to win. They might have did the right thing trimming fat and doing them things. But by that time, I would tell Celtics fans 3 years from now we might be saying, now we got to move Jason Tatum. So until he shows me he's going to spend money, I'm going to believe who he is, which is I'm about my pockets right now.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. And I just hope, and this is what I would have asked Bill Chisholm tomorrow. Is he comfortable with his early legacy as Celtics owner and the face of the franchise being something akin to an owner that is just concerned with the finances and the bottom line and not winning? Like it or not, that's what the perception is. You got rid of, the Porzingis contract. You got rid of the Holiday contract. I think people understood that. This, they don't understand as much. And now that's your early legacy as owner of the Celtics. That's what it is. And I don't know. Look, do you want to be John Henry? I mean, what a case study. And I know I keep saying it, but it is absolutely, it is something that every owner should consider when thinking about their legacy and their individual, the way they're viewed in whatever city they're doing business in. You could not have a more heroic debut than John Henry had. He immediately took the Red Sox to the next level and then broke the curse. He was brilliant in the way he went and attacked winning. Theo Epstein, it was brilliant. They couldn't have executed better. It couldn't have gone better. They've since won 4 championships. There's been different general managers, different star players. It wasn't all Tom Brady. It wasn't all David Ortiz. And the damn guy could not be more loathed in Boston. Just a few years later. It is stunning. stunning to see the turn of events associated with John Henry. And this guy has won nothing. I'm just saying, whatever money you've made is great. Bill Chisholm is he's an outstanding businessman. Outstanding. Has skills I'll never be able to even fathom. But when you become the owner of a franchise, of a pro sports franchise, the only thing that matters from a legacy perspective is, did you impact winning? If not, your legacy will tank. You will tank. That's what the first thing people will think of when they hear your name, that you sucked as an owner. And it's still early. I'm not saying that, but if you become known, John Henry will be fascinating once he's gone to see what people settle on in terms of John Henry's legacy, because he's loathed right now. Doesn't mean he can't fix it. Doesn't mean he can't get some of what he had back. But man, when you turn your back on winning, you've lost the fan base. You've lost the customer. Got to be real careful, because that's your legacy. Now, your legacy is attached to winning, not your business, not the bottom line, not making money and accruing a profit, not any of that. Did you win? Can you win? He hasn't done anything. 617-779-0985. More calls when we get back. And what should happen now with Jason Tatum? With where the Celtics are, what do you do now with Jason Tatum, and what do you expect now from Jason Tatum? Mark Dondero, 98.5, The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5, The Sports Hub.
doesn't have a name, but somebody in Hudson is calling, and we're taking their call now. Hello.
Hey, yeah, this is Rick in Hudson.
Hey, Rick, what's up, man?
Thanks for taking my call. Not too much. Honestly, I disagree with a lot of what you say.
Yeah.
I think the team is in a much better spot. I'm not even a green teamer. If anything, I'm a casual Blazers fan.
Mm-hmm.
But, think of their two centers. They got Kata Robinson. They have, Tatum, George, what's his name? Pritchard, White. That's their starting five.
Yep.
They got Hauser and Shireman. That's not a bad top 8 with those two centers and those two guys off the bench. That's a 50-win team, I think.
Yeah.
Plus, in 2 years, they got all the cap room. They got all these picks to make deals with. I think they could add a ball handler or a better backup for Tatum because they don't really have a big wing or power forward off the bench. But anyway, that plus, has anyone defended Jaylen Brown in this? I haven't heard any players come out. I'm not sure if you know anything. I don't. But I haven't heard anyone on the team come out and say, man, we really miss Jaylen. Can't believe this happened.
Okay. That's a fair point. Thanks for the call, Rick. I mean, look, those are all fair. But the facts remain the facts. You get rid of a guy like that, and your team suffers. Okay? Everything he outlined isn't wrong. I do think they'll still be a good team. They will still be a good team. They still have Jason Tatum. They still have some continuity. They still have Derek White. They still have, Missoula Ball and the ability to shoot the three. Don't call me, next February when the Celtics are on pace for 52 wins. I don't care. Okay? I don't care. This isn't about the regular season. The regular season in the NBA, we know, is not an adequate barometer of how good the team is. It's not. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay? They're going to still be good. The 2002 Celtics made the Eastern Conference Finals. Okay? Doesn't mean they had a shot in hell to make the finals or to win the championship. This is the reality of their situation. They are not good enough to win it all. And here we are on July 5th knowing that. Now, we'll see what changes. The Bridgie Celtics were fun and good, and they won playoff series. And I think, didn't they go to the conference finals? They had no chance of winning it. Okay, that's the NBA. It's not baseball. Baseball, because the swing is a living, breathing organism, you can get into the playoffs, and one guy goes cold, one guy gets white hot, and you end up winning the championship. There are so many variables at play in baseball, okay, that you can't predict, that come and go, so anything can happen. It's not just about having the top end talent. That certainly helps. Dodgers, but there's more to it than that. Basketball, not much more to it than that. Talent. How often do you see an 8 seed upset a 1 seed in basketball? Rarely. Why? The talent. It's just not enough. It's not football. It's not Tom Brady, where you can get rid of Randy Moss in 2010, but you got Brady. You got draft picks who are making an impact right now. Gronk. Doesn't happen in basketball. Rookies don't actually do anything for 4 years. It's more like baseball. Aaron Hernandez, there's none of that with basketball or with the Celtics. Mikey Russ is in Bellingham. What's up, Mikey Russ?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
up?
So I'm just thinking about Brown in particular. So the Celtics gave him a lifeline, giving him $300-something million over X amount of years. I don't think there's a team in the NBA that would ever given him that kind of money. He has achieved what most call in the NBA the greatest feat, winning a championship, being the MVP of the finals. Whether or not you get moved to a different team, I'm just thinking in Brown's perspective, whether or not he's pissed off or not of leaving the team, I understand he's got a heart of a lion and he wants to play for the Celtics. You got to be grateful that the Celtics actually thought you were that good to get that amount of money, because I don't think there's any team in the NBA that would even offer him even close to that kind of money. I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, thanks for the call, Mike. I mean, they offered him all that money. I don't know. What changed then? Why did they not know that the analytics weren't jiving with Jaylen Brown when they offered him that much money? So in a way, the Celtics are part of the problem here in terms of how I feel about this trade. You clearly thought he was something. You offered him all that money, and now all of a sudden, analytically, he doesn't stack up to what your projections say, or the live stream's a problem. Listen, why can't you, things can get solved via various conversations. Like, I'll give you an example. If his efficiency, if you're into that stuff, okay, or the numbers or the advanced metrics weren't where you wanted them to be, I don't know, maybe the coach is the problem, and the coach isn't able to get the player to play the way he needs to play to be at his best. Did they ever consider that? Did they have a conversation about that? Maybe the numbers, as much as I hate analytics, if you want to be guided by them, maybe it's because the coach can't adequately use the player to bring his numbers more towards where they want them. I'm just saying it's a lot easier to replace a coach than an all-NBA player. That's all I'm saying. Was that ever discussed? I mean, we act like Joe Mazzulla hasn't made any mistakes, right? I mean, there's been some disasters associated with Joe Mazzulla. Disasters. I know it's a players' league, but I don't know. Why don't you think about that angle of it? Maybe the coach could have helped out. The Celtics obviously thought he was worth something, and guess what? He was. They don't win the championship without Jaylen Brown. That's why you usually don't win the championship if the MVP isn't playing at that MVP level. And he was the MVP. And it wasn't just an award. I watched the games. I saw when he took a big shot, and I went, oh, yes, when he made it. That's what the MVP does, because at the end of the game, he makes me react like that. Paul's in Haverhill. Hey, Paul.
Hey, how you doing? Real quick, I tried your Banderas Market. I think it's called in Dennis.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You could be the next Joe Murray with that referral. Unbelievable.
All right.
Service, phenomenal.
Excellent.
Food, phenomenal. Value, phenomenal. Lobster roll, it was a special, $30. Slightly longer hot dog roll, fresh shelled meat, you could tell.
Gosh.
And they throw in a bag of Cape Cod chips. Mark, you got it going, man. That was a good one.
I'm going
Thank
to Dennis
you.
immediately after the show. I'm driving down. Seriously, I'm driving down.
I was down there. Yeah, I was down there for 3 days on the beach. I can't think of the name, but anyway.
Okay.
On the ocean, open ocean. Fantastic. But thank you for the referral, man. I go there every year bring my adult kids, grandkids, blah, blah.
All right.
Banderas, I'm telling everybody I know, go there. And by the way, lastly, I spoke to a couple of more mature women, very beautiful. One of them looked a little clueless when I asked if she knew you were helping her on the radio. Turns out the other woman with dark hair who had that sub-counter running like a machine. You don't wait 1 minute, they're on you. What do you want? It's like the sub-Nazis. I love it.
I love it. All right,
anyway,
thanks, Paul.
I couldn't connect you, but I tried to let the managers know you're helping.
All right,
you.
Thanks, Paul.
Peace out, bro. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I'm in that area a lot. I love the Sunday school down there. Ice cream. I'm an ice cream guy. I'm glad he had such a good experience. Yeah. Okay. So, look, there's a lot more to say. I just feel like the way the Celtics handled this, it was mystifying on a lot of levels. And again, the data, you can talk about the future. Again, they're going to be good. I'm telling you right now, they're going to be a good team. Okay? I'm not saying they're going to be at the Dallas Mavericks and drafting Cooper Flack. I'm not saying that, but they're not going to be on the tier they were on, and I don't know how long it's going to take for them to get back to that tier. That's all I'm saying. I know Brad Stevens good at what he does. I still have faith in Brad Stevens. I don't think this was all his doing. But the data, the stuff that I think actually means something, the trends that mean something, suggests when you get rid of a player at that level, you get worse. And you stay that way for a long time, or at least a period of time. And then by the time you come back up, who knows where you are. That's why I might have handled this a little differently. We'll see where the league goes. But how much faith do you have in Jason Tatum now that he is, without question, the guy? You think the Celtics can actually look different? And by different, I mean better. And I'm not even talking about wins and loss record type of better. I just mean look better in ways. Can they look better now that Jaylen Brown is gone? Can they win more close games? Will they look different? And again, I don't mean will their record be better. Okay? The Patriots, for example, I think they're going to be better this year than last year, but their record probably won't be. The team, I think, will be. I think they'll look different in a lot of ways, and they'll be better as a result. A.J. Brown, all of the above. The line improving, Trevion Henderson getting better, all the things that could happen this year. I think they'll be better, even though their record might not be better. Can the Celtics tap into that a little bit? Can they look different in ways, better in ways, even though their record won't be better? I fear that even if they do, they're still not going to be close to contenders. Not even close. You need talent, and they don't have as much as they had. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero, this is 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5.
was great. They light up. They're like little LED lights. I spent the whole night, instead of watching the fireworks, playing that with the kids. And then by the time I had lost my second straight game, it was actually harder than I thought. It was time to go. We played 3 games. I went 1-2, whatever. I was actually a little bit annoyed in the moment, but it was, the 4th of July. I'm not going to get overly upset when I'm playing against 11-year-olds. But it's like Beirut or, beer pong or whatever on the beach, just with the water in the ocean water in the buckets, and you throw the ball. It's fun. It's a good game. I recommend that game. Rob is in the car. Hey, Rob. Jeff, can you pull up? Oh, is Rob there? Okay. Hey, Rob. Sorry.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. First of all, I think it was a disastrous trade. I think the Celtics brand suffers because of everything that Jalen brought, not just to the team, its performance, but to the city, to just all the stuff he was doing. I think it was good for the Celtics brand. And also, maybe I'm old school, but I thought the two Jays together were an incredible, almost iconic duo, and I would have liked to have seen the team keep tinkering to make it work with this unique duo that we had. But my main comment is something you just said. It was about Brad Stevens.
Yeah.
And I will say, either way, I'm down on Brad Stevens now. But I would like to know, was he the architect of this? In which case, I criticize him. But also, if he was sort of kind of pressured or like following the lead of the money man, and he sort of had to compromise his own self to do what the boss wanted to do, I think even worse of him, and I almost think he should get out of here if he's been reduced to, doing what he's told.
It's interesting. Thanks, Rob. You know what I thought of? And I'm not saying he should have done this. I thought myself, if this happened, I wonder if Brad Stevens, for even a fleeting instant, thought about quitting. I mean, just with how bad the return was and what he had to do in terms of dealing Jaylen Brown, he ends up, canceling or deleting his Instagram he knew it was going to be bad and ugly. I wonder if for a second he thought of just quitting and not dealing with this and not doing this. I mean, if it went fundamentally against everything that he believes from a basketball perspective, I'm just curious to know if he ever thought about just quitting on principle. Not saying he should have. I'm just wondering. We'll never know. Should the Celtics have if they were going to do this from a salary perspective, you think they traded the wrong guy? I think you can make a case for that. But I don't read into the analytics like they do. And Jason Tatum is more favorable analytically. I know that. Okay? There was an article on Yahoo we talked about on Felger and Maz the other day. They talked in that article about Peyton Pritchard. And they actually compared him to Jalen Brunson. Okay. You lose me when you say things like that. When you do things like that, you lose me. Kenny Atkinson, Cleveland Cavaliers head coach, saying that we're up on them 3-0 even though we've lost every game. I mean, you lose me. Peyton Pritchard has had opportunities to close games. He can barely get a shot off. Okay? He is not Jalen Brunson. He never will be Jalen Brunson. Doesn't mean he's not a fine player. I enjoy Peyton Pritchard. I like him. But if you think that is going to, and again, not in the regular season, I'm not talking, Jalen Brunson made his name because of his playoff performances and his performances at the end of games. I'm not talking about a regular season thing here. Peyton Pritchard, he could average 23 points, 25 points a game in the regular season. Won't mean squat to me. Can you do it in the playoffs when they're focused on you, when they're doubling you, when it's more physical, when you might not get that whistle that you get in the regular season? Can you produce then? He can't. He's a role player. Doesn't mean he's not going to produce for you. Doesn't mean he won't give you good moments and do things for you that'll really help you win. He will. He's probably, how do I say this? He's probably worth the money more based on his contract and whatever crap you want to say. He probably is, based on the numbers and the production and the analytics and blah, blah, blah. He probably is. Doesn't mean anything. Okay? I am sure. I'll be honest. Okay? I am positive that if you took a deep dive into my life, into my marriage, and into my life as a father, a parent, I bet you could come up analytically with data that would suggest I'm a better parent than my wife. I bet you could do it. You could find ways to do it through the analytics because you can find ways to get stats to back up any point you want on anything. I could tell you it's not true. Despite the fact that you could come up with analytics and stats and advanced metrics to say I'm a better parent than my wife. I'm not. Okay? I'm not. I can't discipline not nearly as well. My little girl, she'll punch her brother and then she comes to me and blinks and I'm like, it's okay. Yeah, I can't do it. Not nearly as effective in a million different ways but if you wanted to find a way to make that argument, you could find ways through analytics. Well, he plays with them a little bit more. He'll drive them more places. So technically, he might be more useful because he's the one that's always driving. My wife's not driving nearly as much. So analytically, per the data, he's actually a more useful, better parent. More efficient. No, I'm not. Just, you can concoct whatever you want. That's how data works. That's how statistics work. You can come up with a statistic for any point you want to make about anything. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's actually reality. Okay? That's what they've done here. That's what this whole Jaylen Brown thing is. The reality is that the Lakers, when Shaq left, got worse until they got Pau Gasol. When Jimmy Butler left the Heat, they were a non-factor anymore. They didn't factor into the championship conversation anymore. Okay? You got it? I mean, when Tyrese Halliburton didn't play this year, how did the Pacers... They had a friggin' deep team. They were deep. They took the Thunder to 7 games. Wasn't just Halliburton. You took him out. They were completely different. Part of the reason is because there's a morale aspect to it. Oh, the Celtics haven't come out. And I don't care what the Celtics are feeling. Okay? Maybe they're happy Brown's gone. Doesn't mean they'll win. Maybe they're devastated Brown's gone. Definitely doesn't mean they'll win. When you lose talent in the NBA, you get worse. The Orlando Magic, when they lost Shaq, they were never the same. I'm sure they were decent still. How were the Bulls when Jordan left? They still went to the playoffs. Scottie Pippen still had them in the Eastern Conference quarters or whatever. They couldn't win it. You couldn't win it. That's the data that means something. 617-779-0985. That's the data that means something, not whatever was in that Yahoo article about efficiency rating or what the Celtics points per game is with Jaylen Brown in and out and their record with him. And no. Who gets off the bus with you? And when the game gets tight in the playoffs and the dogs are out, who's in your corner? Who are you in the alley with? That's what matters. You're sure as hell not in the alley with whatever person came up with the numbers that said Jaylen Brown wasn't actually that good. 617-779-0985. Happy 4th of July. We got to get a headlines. We'll be back. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
From the Town Fair Tire Studio, this
Drive
is...
a strong finger all up and down.
This is... home of the 18-time world champion Boston Celtics. WBZ-FM and HD Boston 98.5. The Sports Hub. Sports Hub headlines.
Big breaking news on Sunday from the World Cup. Folarin Balogun, Team USA, will be eligible to play in the U.S.'s round of 16 match on Monday against Belgium. Okay? That after FIFA suspended the red card the U.S. striker received in the team's win over Bosnia. They took a look. They revoked it. They got rid of it. He's in. And the U.S. will look to punch their ticket to the quarterfinals Monday night, 8 p.m., again against Belgium. Huge for the United States men's national team. Saturday at the World Cup, France beat Paraguay 1-0, and Morocco dismissed Canada 3-0. Today, round of 16 rolling on. Brazil up against Norway, 4 p.m., followed by Mexico and England. Big one, can't wait for that one, 8 p.m. Red Sox beat the Angels 8-1 on Saturday. They'll go for the, they're going to play again in the nightcap. Their night game tonight, 9:30. It'll be All-Star Ranger Suarez on the mound for Boston. And on the women's side, over at Wimbledon, Naomi Osaka outslugged top-ranked Aryna Sabalenka. I hope I said that right. I think I did. Aryna Sabalenka, 6-2, 7-6, to reach the Wimbledon quarterfinals for the first time. Sabalenka, top-ranked women, down at Wimbledon. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the 99 Restaurants. To celebrate America's 250th, kids eat free now through July 16th with every adult entree purchased. You gotta love the nines. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next update around 4.
Diving effort.
But he's got a breakaway. Goes to the backhand.
Throws it in.
Coming to the spot.
The Sports Hub. The Bruins, the Celtics, the Patriots, the Sox, the Revs, and you. We're Boston's home for sports. 98.5.
State it now. Do not come at me with stuff about the Celtics being good next year halfway through the season. It means nothing. It just doesn't mean anything. They are going to be good. They are going to make the playoffs. They will be an adequate representative basketball team. Tatum, White, Pritchard, all these things. They'll be fine. Paul George. They just can't win it. They've surrendered their ability to win the championship. That's it. You know, and that in part, not that I knew this was happening, but that's why I don't take these playoff runs for granted. That's why after the Sixers series, when I was extremely upset after that game, if you heard me on the postgame show, I was extremely upset. And this is why. You never know, okay? Because at the time, I didn't know it. But that was going to be the last time I had a chance to root or analyze or cover a team that had a legitimate chance to win the championship for some time. Okay? Now we don't know when they're going to get back. Okay? It's really hard when you lose a big piece of your team like that to get back. Okay? You could just go around the league a million times. When the Chicago Bulls lost Derrick Rose, they were never even close to the same. How about the dynastic Golden State Warriors? They lose Klay Thompson, and they've tried to replace him. Butler, these other Jimmy Butler, other people. They can't. They haven't, and it's not the same. It's never been the same since he left. Never been the same. Now, Kevin Durant left and they won a championship, but that was different. Okay, the team was already championship proven, loaded, and Durant was just, they took him to a ridiculous level. Okay, that's different. When you lose that player, you get worse. When Kevin Durant left, it took the SGA deal for them to get better. And that's because the Thunder are ridiculous at drafting players. The Celtics have not proven they can do that. Not to the level of the Thunder. If you lose a guy of that magnitude, you go down. The Denver Nuggets made an Western Conference Finals with Carmelo Anthony. He went to the Knicks. They didn't get back till Jokic came. Okay, that's the NBA. Stars matter the most. Okay, now I'm not saying the Celtics will never acquire another star. But it's hard to get onto that tier where you're a legitimate bona fide contender. And they've been on that tier, and now they're not anymore. It'll be really interesting to hear what they have to say. It'll be interesting to hear what their demeanor is tomorrow. I'm sure they'll say all the right things. I'm sure they'll swat away questions that they don't want to answer. But what's Brad Stevens' demeanor at this press conference? What's Bill Chisholm's take on this at the press conference? He's getting smoked, and he should. Because your legacy has nothing to do with your business. It has to do with winning. And you will be loathed and dragged through the mud here if you keep going down this road. People will despise you. They don't care where you're from. They will not like your effort, and they will react very specifically in regards to what you've been doing. Okay? Your legacy will tank. Okay? You could have all these great business deals. It feels like, I don't know this, and maybe I'm dead wrong, and if Bill Chisholm laughs in my face, good. I don't care that Mark Cuban created Lotus Notes or whatever he did. It feels like to me some of these owners, once you step into the ring of an NBA or an MLB or a pro sports franchise, nothing else matters. Whatever you did in business doesn't matter. You either are a winner or a loser based on how you're owning the team goes. That's what it feels like. Okay? And you can screw it up pretty easily. I mean, Jerry Jones, wildly successful in business, won 3 damn Super Bowls. How does America view Jerry Jones? Is he viewed as a winner? I feel like he's not viewed as a winner. You know who's viewed as a winner? Jerry Buss. That was a winner. That was an owner who was a winner. From what I can remember, he didn't ever ruin it. I'll tell you another man that never ruined it. George Steinbrenner never ruined it. Was a winner and never let anything get in the way of winning. Okay? Never tried to be the GM. Never tried to meddle. Like, that's the thing that downed, that cut the legs out of Jerry Jones. Try to get too involved. Try to play GM and fantasy football expert. Couldn't do it that way. Couldn't win that way. People tried to tell him, wouldn't listen, and now he's viewed as something below a winner. John Henry lost his way. Stopped doing what it took to win. His legacy took a hit. Doesn't matter what he did in business. Doesn't matter that Jerry Jones found, oil and struck it rich with it. It doesn't matter. What did you do once you owned the team? Were you a winner or a loser? And if you were a loser, if you became a loser, that's what people are going to remember you as. Fair or not, that's the way it works in America. Sports are a big deal. Winning is a big deal. So if you step into the ring as a pro owner, you better be ready to win. And if you want to look at the bottom line, you'll be a loser, and that's what you'll be remembered for, the loser. Win or get out. Be prepared to pursue winning or get out. The fans don't want you. They won't like you. Get out. We'll still give Bill Chisholm a chance. See what he says tomorrow. But actions speak louder than words. And the actions have suggested garbage. That's what the actions have suggested. So, it's early. Give him a chance. But NBA teams don't get rid of players that make all NBA and get better. They just don't. Okay? Now, if the league is going to see this big shift and the Knicks are going to have to get rid of Karl Towns and the Thunder are going to have to get rid of Jaden Williams and, there's no way the Spurs can keep Wemby and Castle and Harper and those guys are going to all get distributed. I mean, okay. Then we'll all play with one superstar and let's see what happens. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think teams are going to be more creative, and the ones that really want to win and pay are going to win and pay. And if the Celtics want to play grab ass and, cut payroll, cut fat, do all that, well, guess what? They're going to lose. They're not going to win. And fans will react accordingly because we know what winning is. We know what winning takes. 617-779-0985. Sorry, we were here for 20 years, intimately involved in what was going on from a sports perspective. We saw what it takes to win. And I don't know if Jason Tatum, as good as he is, he's an analytical dog. See, this is the problem I have. And it's not even about being clutch. And for those that listen to me, know how on Jason Tatum I've been about his on-court play at the end of games. This isn't even what I'm talking about when I get back. When I get back, I'm going to tell you what I'm talking about with Tatum. Okay? And it's another huge problem facing the Celtics now. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero, 98.5, The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5, The Sports Hub.
All right, back here, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Look, I'm just wondering. Obviously, Jason Tatum is a better player. Okay, he's better. But if you're trying to figure out a way to be, I don't know, at your best as a team, I just wonder if maybe Brown would have been the guy to keep. And Brown obviously was the guy that was able to win the NBA Finals MVP and all. We know all that. But how did we win other championships around this city? I'm just thinking out loud. I'm just thinking, is Jason Tatum the leader that the Celtics need as they move forward? Is he the leader? Jason Tatum, not a very vocal guy. Now, it doesn't necessarily, mean something bad or negative. I'm just saying, Kevin Garnett was vocal. Celtics won. Now, depending on what you think of Doc Rivers, I just feel like Kevin Garnett was the actual leader of that team. Kevin Garnett set he was the one that established the culture for that Celtics team that won. We know Tom Brady, vocal. In his own way. Set the standard and got down the throat of guys that weren't doing what they needed to do to live up to the standard, to play to the standard. Even David Ortiz was like that. Not afraid to call someone out. Did it in his own poppy way, but not afraid to call somebody out. David Ortiz, Tom Brady, Kevin Garnett. That's kind of what I feel like you need some of that in association with the play between the lines. Obviously, winning a championship takes a lot of different things. Okay? Now they have Jason Tatum leading the team. Now, he's a great player. He'll lead by example, do all that. But is he what they're going to need from a leadership perspective overall, where guys are going to rally behind him and believe that he could take them to where they want to go? Because he's bona fide the best player on the team now and the leader on the team. The team takes on the personality of the best player, especially in basketball. John's in New Hampshire. Hey, John.
Yes, you're 100% right, Mark. Jason Tatum is like an A-Rod max contract, regular season guy, but when the clutch comes, not a Bobby Orr, not a Brady, not a Garnett, as you just said, all kinds of things like that. So I agree with you 100%.
Thanks, John. Listen, I'm not even going to go that far. I'm not going to say that Jason Tatum's a regular season guy. I think he's a playoff guy. I think he does well in the playoffs. I wouldn't say he's a clutch guy. All the time. I think he's inconsistent. That's the problem with Tatum. He's too inconsistent for me. Highs, lows. See, that's why I reject. That's why I reject some of the things that people will throw at me in regards to Tatum. Okay, because they'll talk about this game where he scored 50 or this game in game 6 when he did. And those are all great moments. Okay? But when you have the lows, okay, the explosive lows that Tatum comes with, that affects the psyche of the team. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't understand why we can't understand this. If you have inconsistencies, highs and lows, you're affected. Everyone around you is affected because you don't know which one you're going to get. Versus somebody that's more consistent and is routinely coming up big in the clutch, routinely coming up big when it matters most. That instills a belief in the team that when the lights are the brightest and you're needed the most, you'll come through. That's what happens. If you don't know what you're going to get, you're going to have a wobbly faith in the person's ability to come through because they've been inconsistent. Hey, he scored 46 in Game 6 against the Bucks. He did a great 50 points in game. Yeah, but what about the game where they blew the 20-point lead against the Knicks, or he didn't show up in this finals game in the down the stretch against the Warriors, or he was the fifth best player on the court down the stretch of this huge game? I mean, it's been up and down. Yes, there are good things you can point to, for sure. Okay, but the reason people have a problem is because of the downs, which create an inconsistency, which doesn't allow you, by you I mean the other players on the Celtics, to feel like he's always going to be at his best when the moment requires him to be at his best. He has sometimes, and everyone loves to point those times out, and I don't blame them. But there's other times where he hasn't been, and that's where this inconsistency creates a lack of confidence and creates some of the mishaps that we've seen the Celtics experience. And I just don't understand why that's so hard to get your arms around. They're inconsistent. Tatum's been inconsistent. And when that happens, that creates, it is what it is. So, I don't know what to tell you in that regard. I think they'll be good next year, and it'll be fun to watch what they do. It'll be fun to watch Brad Stevens tomorrow and see how he, handles the questions. I just don't think that. I mean, I don't know how he's going to be able to make people feel better, to put it simply. I don't know. It just feels like when you give up a guy of that level, you don't get better, and I think that's the situation they're in. I'll tell you what, that trade took some of the joy out of the USA soccer win the other day. You into the soccer, Jeff? You all over this?
Yeah, no, these have been highly entertaining games.
I'll tell you what. With respect, I know this isn't. Did we have an Olympics this year? The Winter Olympics. Yeah. That's right. Okay, so this could be the greatest. I mean, how could I forget you? On the knees, banging on the floor. This could be the greatest international year in the history of America. I know it was disappointing what happened in the World Baseball Classic, but if we win Olympic hockey gold. And I don't even making it to make it further than we've ever made it in the World Cup for the men. I'm sorry. I think that's the best year you've ever had. America as an Olympic. I mean, look, in terms of other Olympic, there's Michael Phelps and different things have happened. I get that. Obviously, USA basketball wins the gold basically every time outside of 2004. But U.S. men's hockey beats Canada in the gold medal game, and we make it as far or further than we've ever made it in the World Cup, that's a pretty noteworthy year from an international competition perspective. So this is a huge moment for USA Soccer. I'm excited. The fact that it was a joke that red card was given to Balogun. So, not cool. But I'm glad they did the right thing and that he's going to play. And you can't take anybody for granted if you're USA Soccer. You've never won anything. You need your top striker in there. And I know everybody talks about Pulisic, but this guy's been he's been the difference maker for this team, and they need him in there. 617-779-0985. They need him in there. Can't take anything for granted. You go at them with everything you've got, and you expect to do what you've been doing. Score early and play your game and make it to the quarterfinal, something they haven't done since 2002. And then we're really talking. Then you're really talking. Then you're up against the big boys, and all of that, potential gets really put to the test. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
All right, back here 98.5 The Sports Hub. Did you follow the Taylor Swift wedding at all, Jeff?
Zero.
Yeah. I mean, not that I was following it, but I was a little surprised at some of the people that were guests. Why were there so many NFL reporters there? Is that for like some post-retirement play? Or I mean,
all of them except for Rossini.
Yeah, I don't, like, why was Erin Andrews there? She close with Kelsey?
I mean, it was basically like
why is Julian Edelman there?
You know,
I guess.
You know, Bradley Cooper walking in. It's like, what? He's friends with all these people. Like no one knows who. It's just I can't say it on the air.
Yeah. I mean, look, I thought the whole thing was Madison Square Garden. You know, I get that, the world's most famous arena, and it's like the ultimate flex. But wouldn't you want something like prettier than that? I don't know.
It's 4th of July weekend too. Like, you could have went somewhere like, on the beach or something like that.
Yeah.
Why go to Madison Square Garden if you're not going to like live stream it? Like, what's the whole point of having it there?
Right. That's a good point. If you're going to do something big like that, make it a show. That's what it is, right? The show. It's the greatest stage in the world. And it's the most ultimately private event. I didn't understand the... I mean, look, you can get married where you want. That's fine with me. I would have thought the visual aesthetics would have been more important to anybody getting married. It's just not very pretty at Madison Square Garden. Maybe they made it into something pretty. And again, I get the appeal of Madison Square Garden, but it just doesn't feel like, and the guest list was just I was interested in the motivation behind some of the people that were there. Why is Rob Gronkowski there? Are they close? Julian Edelman? Was Mike Vrabel there? Was he at the wedding?
Yes, he was. He was there with his wife.
Why was he there? What's the connection to Travis Kelce? I mean, that's fine. I guess I'm interested in the setup. I mean, it's easy to have a dance floor. You got plenty of space in that regard. You need a big venue for a lot of people. I mean, maybe it was just as simple as, hey, we're such big celebrities. We need a big venue. Why not get the world's most famous arena? Damn it, I'm Taylor Swift. I'm just saying that you probably could have had a big venue, and it could have, you literally could have gotten married anywhere you wanted. You could have rented an island. You could have, rented an entire neighborhood. You could have gotten married on some compound on an island that, the island could have been yours the whole weekend. And everybody could have come, and it could have been the same thing. It's interesting. Madison Square Garden. And people were getting fired or they were getting removed because they had trying to take pictures or, that felt like a lot to police too. Hey, congrats. Typically I'm not a fan of weddings on holiday weekends. So she's one of them. They're one of them. But I get it. It happens. I'd rather a wedding the weekend before Memorial Day or the weekend before Labor Day or whatever, but that's fine. Yeah, if you wanted to take a quick sidebar here with the, the Red Sox, they got screwed. I mean, Wilson Contreras should be an all-star. Sonny Gray should be an all-star. I feel like Sonny Gray, it's so disappointing that I can't enjoy the Sonny Gray signing more because he's everything you want that guy to be. And they're just not where you'd want the team to be. And that's part of the problem with this whole, situation. It's nice that they are having a little bit, a burst of momentum there, Yankees, and now they're, having a good series against the Angels. I I just think it's going to take more than a win streak to get them back to where they need to be. And that's what I'm worried about with the Celtics. It was the type of moves like what we saw last week that hurt the Red Sox and put them in this position where it's more than just who's on the roster. I don't want the Celtics to go down that road. That's what I'm concerned about. I just feel like that the Celtics had such a thing going. I thought for a minute there they were the number one team in town. And that's why I'm just wondering, not so much about, Tatum and between the lines in the clutch, which has always been a concern. I don't know if he was the guy to give the keys to from a leadership perspective. And I'm honestly just wondering if they would have been better off trading him too. I mean, how deep does this rebuild need to go? Again, unless you think the NBA is about to about face and really change its dynamic as an entire league, I'm not sure what middling with Jason Tatum as your star is going to do. I mean, do you really want to be one of those teams? I mean, do you really want to be what the Blazers were with Damian Lillard? He made some big shots. Dame time. They could barely ever get out of the fairway. They make one run once to maybe the conference finals. They were one of those teams that wasn't an actual contender. And of course, he leaves. They're never close. They're not close. They made the playoffs this year, but all right, whatever. They made whatever. They're not close. Is that the type of team you want to be? Damian Lillard's Blazers. He was a great player, a star for them. Big playoff moments. Couldn't really make any real noise. That frustrates me. And the Celtics have been there before. They were there with Pierce and Antoine Walker. I think that's what they are now. And it just feels like you didn't have to give it up. KG and Pierce, you had to give it up. It was over at that point. They had maxed out. The Miami Heat, were established. They got together. They were, just on a different level, and you knew it. Your time was over, and everybody knew that. I was okay with that trade. I was not okay with the timing of this one just because I felt like they had more. And Brad Stevens said as much at his last press conference when asked directly. Now, I get it. They lie. They're going to say what they need to say in the moment. I understand that. But I believe what he said because I believe the premise of the answer. You still can win. Now, I thought they needed to change their approach and their philosophy, but I still thought that they could win together as a duo. I still thought they could win. And then I would have loved the Mitchell Robinson signing and the Mike Conley signing. It would have been a lot better with Brown there. Now, how am I supposed to feel about that? Mitchell Robinson can't make a free throw, and Mike Conley's like 49 years old. And you get Tatum and White and Pritchard, I get it, but we've seen it. You get rid of Tatum, too, then you're talking about a real rebuild. You're getting real assets because the people that are hypnotized by analytics will offer more for Tatum because they know he's more aligned with that type of thinking and his game. The analytics like his game more. Then you get some real assets. Then you can rebuild. Takes a long time, but at least you have the assets to rebuild. If you're not going to win the championship, and again, the data would suggest you're going to go down hard, why would you keep Tatum throughout unless you're going to get aggressive again? Which, I don't see that happening based on the actions of the owner and what's gone on to this point. Facts. But it's possible. And if you get aggressive again and soon, I guess you could have a chance. That doesn't mean you're going to be right in who you sign. They brought in Al Horford once upon a time, and that wasn't enough, even though he was a 3-time All-Star. You needed more. You needed Tatum and Brown at superstar levels with Al Horford to win it all. So just bring in Al Horford or, Evan Mobley is not going to be enough. It needs to be two superstars. Or at least, probably Karl Anthony Towns is as low of a level as you can have. So, I don't know. But I just look at the league and the analytics in that regard of teams that have gotten rid of a top NBA guy. Did the Utah Jazz used to go to the playoffs with Donovan Mitchell? Now, where are they? Drafting, at the top of the draft. You're not, Devin Booker. Is that what the Celtics are now? And the Phoenix Suns? They got the high volume score. He can do everything offensively, but just Devin Booker hasn't gotten them anywhere. Is that what they are? That's why I'm so upset about the Jaylen Brown trade, because the Celtics are now the Devin Booker Phoenix Suns. Jason Tatum, other pieces, but that's their max. Some good offense and petering out in the playoffs because they don't have the depth, the talent, or the makeup to get it done at the highest level. And we know that on July 5th. And that's what we'll see where it goes. But I don't know if you want me to sit here and lie and pretend like they're still going to be good. And that's, if you can enjoy that, good for you. I wish I could. But I still view it through the championship prism, and I'm not as good at trying to enjoy that. Hey, that's okay. We'll watch some basketball. They'll be okay. They'll still be representative, and that's fun. Good for you. I can't do it. 617-779-0985. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about a team that I do think can do it. And that's the Patriots. We'll talk a little bit about that next. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hey, Sports Hub listeners, did you know that you can save money?
It was a quote from John Madden, and somebody said that the 5th of July is when the page officially turns to football. And I love it. I love the fact that is the mentality of some people. That's the sport I've covered most, obviously, so that's what I look forward to most. But, it is going to be a very interesting weekend. A very interesting off-season training program when you talk about training camp and what is going to be on the field at Gillette Stadium. Obviously, Mike Vrabel has been through a lot this year, since the Super Bowl. But when you look at it, the roster feels like it's in a great place. I haven't been as high on the Patriots as I've been in years. I'm trying to think of the last time I was this high on the Patriots, and it was probably, it was definitely the Tom Brady era. It was probably the year they won it. It was probably 2018. Maybe I fell for it a little bit when they signed Antonio Brown. I remember that was an exciting moment, so I probably bought into that a little more than I should have. So maybe that was the time. Mike Vrabel telling Mike Reese in Mike Reese's notes, 4th of July, near the top of his favorite holiday list. Or I should say near the top of the list for his favorite holidays. Right behind Christmas. Big firework guy, he said. That's Vrabel. Disagree. I just feel like this team, when you factor down who they have at different positions, I don't see where you're poking the holes. That's all. I just don't see it. Quarterback, line play. Are they the best line in the league? No. But they are going to have a better offensive line, and they made the Super Bowl last year. Not only did they make the Super Bowl last year, okay, say what you want about the teams that they played or the offenses that they played. They got through the AFC playoffs with that line against those defensive lines that they faced. Now, I understand that, Bo Nix was injured and that C.J. Stroud had the worst game in the history of quarterbacks. I get all that. But I'm just saying this is a scenario where, you've made improvements. And I still think Mike Vrabel is the man for the job and that he is going to have this team even better this year. I buy that Drake May is going to be better this year. I love the fact that they got A.J. Brown, and I think the team and the roster as a result is going to be energized by that. I think they're going to be juiced by the presence of A.J. Brown both on and off the field, and I think that we're going to see that early and often. It's a great time for this organization to strike. Okay, you haven't paid Drake May yet. You're going to have to do that. Things are going to change. But I love that they got Brown. I love the fact that we're talking about Christian Gonzalez still being in the mix. Okay, and you'll see what you get from guys like Christian Barmore and Milton Williams and players like that. One of the big things that we have to wait and see is, can Gabe Akis do anything as a rookie? He hasn't participated really at all. I think they have enough depth to withstand maybe a slow start from a guy like that. But I'm just saying that's noteworthy because this team is still trying as hard as they can to get back on level ground in the NFL draft. They have to find a way to do that. Last year was a good first step, but they need to get back on track in the draft. And you need a big way to do that is getting a star or drafting a star. Now, I don't know if this guy's going to be a star. Probably not. Okay, but when you talk about a second-round pick, 55 overall, that's the type of area where I'd like to see some major production happen. Okay, that's what they haven't had, that range there. A guy from that range there being a part of the mix. If they can get that back up and running, now we're talking about the Patriots being on the top tier. They're already flirting with it. They're right there with all the best teams in the AFC. You know, the only thing left to do is to prove via the schedule that you're legit, and that you were legit last year, and I think they were, and I think they will. But they can't do that until they win more than they lose against a schedule like the one they have. You know, I think they're going to go 3-1 to start the season. I think they're going to be right there. And we'll see. The good news is they have a legitimate chance to get back to kind of what they were last year. I'm not saying they're going to get to the Super Bowl again. But I think you just need to prove all that there was so much more Drake May had to prove last year, obviously. This year, there's so much less to prove. He just needs to go out there and be Drake May. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun to you know, what's the word I'm looking for? To take in. How can he not necessarily improve on what he did last year, but validate what he did last year, and what does that look like? You know they're going to throw the ball. They threw it great last year. You know, if they run the ball a little bit better, that would be excellent, but I don't think they need to do that. I think they will. I think it'll help, but I don't think that's something they need to do. When you think of the Patriots, what do they really need to do that they didn't do last year? What do they need to do? I don't think that's a very long list. I can think of two things that they need to do. Okay? They need to prove they can beat the better teams. And I think they need to protect Drake May better. That's what they need to do. I don't think that's a very difficult list to attack. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy to accomplish those things, but it's pretty straightforward. Protect the quarterback a little bit better and find a way to win some of these games. Now, ideally, I'd like Drake May to be the reason they win some of these games. I'd like to see them win a shootout against a good quarterback. I'd like to see them pull a close game out of their backside and do things like that on a more consistent basis. They've proven everything else. You know, I guess one other thing, when they get to the playoffs, let's have Drake May show out a little bit. Big-time statistical performance in the playoffs. He's already proven that they have a knack for winning. He has a knack for making the play that helps them win, the scramble in Denver, you know, some of the plays he made. Can he be a little bit more consistent? Less turnovers in the playoffs. Did it in the regular season, but as of now, he's on schedule. There haven't been these wild swings up and down. And I think they're, you know, poised to take a step forward this year. And even if their record isn't as good, I think they're going to be better. More legit. 617-779-0985. That's my summer hot take. This Patriots team, man, is going to be good. Better than last year. A force on the same level as the Chiefs and the Ravens and all those teams that we've been looking up at googly eyes for the last couple seasons. Not anymore. They are right there with them. Because of Drake May and Mike Vrabel. To start. Other reasons too. But those two are the guys. 617-779-0985. Gonna get a quick headlines. We'll be right back. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
From the Town Fair Tire Studio, the game is on the Sports Hub.
Goes to the backhand and scores! Two-hand slam!
Boston's home for sports.
I love this team!
98.5 The Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Big breaking news from the World Cup on Sunday. Folarin Balogun will be eligible to play for the U.S. in their round of 16 match against Belgium. Okay, he had gotten the red card against Bosnia. That would have meant he was out and suspended for the next game. FIFA, they have now since suspended the red card he received, and he will be back against Belgium in the game on Monday night. That game, Monday night, 8 p.m. for the United States. For a chance for them to go to the quarterfinals. That would be their furthest penetration in the World Cup since 2002, matching their furthest, deepest run ever. So a huge game, Monday at 8 o'clock. Saturday at the World Cup, France beat Paraguay 1-0. Morocco dismissed Canada by the count of 3-0. Going on right now, just underway, Brazil and Norway. Norway just had a goal taken off the board, it looks like, due to an offside. So they're scoreless. Later tonight, a big one. England, Mexico, in Mexico. And we'll see who can make the quarterfinals after these games are played. Red Sox beat the Angels 8-1 on Saturday. They're going to do it again 9:30 tonight. First pitch, Ranger Suarez, one of the Sox 2 All-Stars on the mound for Boston. And on the women's side at Wimbledon, Naomi Osaka outslugged top-ranked Aryna Sabalenka 6-2, 7-6 on Sunday to reach the Wimbledon quarterfinals for the first time. Sports Hub headlines brought to you by Jeep. I Can. You can't spell American without it. During the Jeep Make This the Summer event, celebrate 250 years of the country that can with a great deal on the vehicles that always can. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next update. We'll see.
This is what happens when analysts take over the game, take over the sport.
This is where you talk sports.
It happens all the time.
The Sports Hub. When it comes to Boston sports, we're fans just like you. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Yeah, still scoreless in that Norway-Brazil game. Tell you what, I'm feeling those Norway unis. Strong. This is the real thing now. These are the big boys. We'll see what happens. Holland. Actually, wait a minute. I said I'm feeling the front of the Norway unis. The back looks weird.
It's like that Nordic font.
Yeah.
So
Okay. No. Out on the back. The color scheme and the design on the front I like. They're the ones that do the Viking row celebration, right? Yeah. I love it. I'm fascinated by Vikings. I don't know. I need a doc. Does anybody have a good doc on Vikings? Like a documentary on the Vikings?
there's a metal band that I've seen a few times now that they're from there, and they do the whole row thing. Like
Yeah.
The whole crowd will do the row.
Oh,
Amon
okay.
Amarth. You should check them out.
What are they called?
What's that?
What's the name of the band?
Amon Amarth.
Okay. The thing that the Vikings, obviously the Minnesota Vikings do, I don't know. It just sends something into your veins. I just don't know enough about the Vikings. Like Pirates, I feel like about Pirates. You've seen enough about the, buried treasure and walk the plank, matey, and Pirates and whatever. I don't know enough about the Vikings. What was their MO? Where did they come from? Did they really come down through the Great Lakes? And is that what are they about? Were they as violent as the Pirates? Were they more violent? What did their violence look like? What wars did they? I don't know enough about Vikings. I do know that Norway is a good team and Brazil's good. So, by that metric, it's a good game. So we'll monitor it. Team USA plays Monday night. Big one. I mean, look, I was wondering if they're legit, but it feels like they were pretty legit. Because I'm going off of, didn't Australia just lose? I mean, it's not like Australia was some team that had no business being here. I wasn't sure at the beginning of this tournament, but it feels like they were decent. They lost like one round ago. Paraguay, who the U.S. handled, just lost 1-0 to France. Are we going to win the World Cup? Dang. Let's take some calls. John's in the car on the Patriots. Hey, John.
Hey, how are you?
What's up, man?
I just, on your last take about the Patriots, I agree. I think that they're going to be a better team, a stronger team. I don't see them winning 14 games.
Yeah.
But the games they win, they're going to win more decisively. They're going to be more assertive in how they win. And will they get to the Super Bowl? Probably not. But I just think that they're going to be a better football team.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough to top what the output from last year in terms of the wins and losses. But again, I'm big on what my eyes tell me. And I'm not somebody that says, well, the better team didn't win. If you lose the game, you weren't the better team on that day, and that's that. Okay? But the eyes tell me the most. And I just think we're going to watch the Patriots this year, and it's going to look different. Like John just said, like I've said, I don't think it means they're going to win more games. But when you talk about the roster and the makeup, I buy into Mike Vrabel. Despite all of the hoopla this offseason, I buy into his leadership, his culture, his program. I buy into Drake May. I think he's mature. I think he's a grown-up. I think that they're going to be a team that benefits from him being the face of the franchise. And he's not somebody I don't think that other guys are going to have to drag along. I think that's going to be a team that benefits from Drake May and the way he leads and the way he sets an example. So, yeah, they're going to be better this year. Because, you know what the biggest reason? They got a bleep ton of talent. They've got a number one wide receiver. They've got Travion Henderson who could pop this year and become a totally different running back on a completely new level. They've got maybe the best cornerback in football, if not the best, top 5. They got a strong defensive line. They've got depth in the secondary, and we'll see what the linebackers can do. But they've got a scheme that's proven and has won them games in the playoffs. A defensive scheme that won them games in the play. I mean, it's just they've got a lot going for them on top of the talent. What am I missing here? Oh, you want me to just, because of the schedule last year? Out. Don't buy it. Lee's in Oklahoma on the Pats. Hey, Lee.
Hey, Mark. First thing, I want to thank you and the team there for everything that y'all do. I've been a long-time listener to the station, obviously thousands of miles away, so just one, thank you. Two things from last year, though, that I would like to point out, and that you kind of might have not talked about. One, special teams. Last year when we did have to punt, in my opinion, there were some atrocious punts by Bryce Behringer that put the defense in a tight spot. And sometimes you got bailed out from that. But if you look at consistent top 10 teams in the NFL, their special teams do perform extraordinary, specifically pinning opposing teams inside their own 25 when you're punting from around midfield. So I would like to see us improve on that. Secondly, looking back at last year and how we played, one of the better teams we played was Pittsburgh early in the season. And Travion, obviously, great running back. He's still got a lot to prove. But Ramondre and the fumbling, we can't have a stint like that this year with the schedule that we've got coming up. Just your opinions on that, and I'll take my answer off the air. Thank you.
All right, thanks for your words, Lee. I don't disagree with anything Lee said. I don't think the year will be determined by their efficiency punting, but you don't want to overlook something like that. And Lee's right. They need to tighten things up on special teams, especially if they're in big games, close games with good teams. That's the type of play that could, be a difference maker. So, yeah, I'd like to see them be better. I'd like to see them be more efficient punting the ball and on special teams in general. They did have some big special teams plays, in the playoffs. I thought, that tip in the Denver game was a big tip. That was a big play. They made some play. Obviously, Travion Henderson made some plays on special teams this past year. And, there are going to be moments this year where they are put to the test and their feet are held to the fire. And that's where we're going to really find out what they're all about. Pittsburgh, Lee brought up the Steelers. That's a game you just have to win. The way you lost the one last year, losing by whatever it was, less than a touchdown and having 5 turnovers and still finding a way to almost win the game, you've got to win that game, especially with how difficult the early part of the schedule is. That's a game with Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy. You've got to find a way to win. So that's something that I'll be looking for early on in this season. But, I like the fact that we can talk about these little things, and there doesn't have to be sweeping, massive changes that are required in order for the team to get to where they want to go. It's tightening up this. It's tightening up a special teams, part of the game that maybe isn't the biggest factor week in and week out, but could be a difference maker in one big playoff game, say. That's what I'm looking for. And I think they're going to be able to do that. I think they're going to be able to effectively attack those areas based on who they have in the leadership. I don't know how else to, the big question I'll be looking to answer is what does the draft class look like from last year and this current one? And have they really made a step forward in that regard? Because that's going to be what takes them to a whole other level. Pat in North Grafton on Vikings. Hey, Pat.
Hello, Mark.
Hey.
I was a former history teacher of European history, so here's a quick little primer.
Excellent.
On the Vikings. First of all, they are traced back as far as 15,000 years ago on what we now call today the Scandinavian Peninsula. And that is Sweden, Denmark, and Norway. Sweden is across Denmark's across the bottom of the peninsula.
Yep.
Norway's on the left-hand side, and Sweden's on the right. And they were a warlike culture through prehistory and even into the Middle Ages. And they were great seafarers. Mm-hmm. They were surrounded by the North Sea, and they fashioned boats that could survive in those heavy seas. And they sailed down as far initially in about between 750 AD and 850 AD to the British Isles. So that's, England, Wales, and Scotland. Mm-hmm. And a little later on, they even sailed across to Ireland.
That's great. I'm going to let you go, Pat. So that's that's right up my alley. Okay, based on the outline there that Pat gave, I want to learn more about the Vikings. I just, even in my history class experience, didn't talk much about the Vikings. My friend had a book when we were kids. This is a true story. It was called Viking Times. And that's where he hid all his magazines. Viking Times. We were probably 13 years old. That's my we won't go into that. He used to print them out. I don't even know if they were real or whatever. He'd print them off the internet. The internet was new. He would be printing them off.
Didn't store them in the woods like I used to back in the day.
No. Viking Times. Ronnie is in Natick. Hey, Ronnie.
Hey, bud. Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
You got to check out Vikings, the series.
Is it a series? That's what I'm looking for. So there's a series called Vikings.
Oh my God! Yeah, right.
Okay.
Ragnar Lothbrok.
What's it on? What platform?
It was on HBO, I think. It was on History Channel or something before that. But yeah, check that out. It's awesome.
All right, good looking out. Thanks, Ronnie. So that's what I'm talking about. That, like, even if it's larger than life, I mean, Sons of Anarchy was larger than life. I'm into that. Now that show got a little nuts. I liked it initially, but by the end of it, it was like a chore to get through each episode. It was like too intense.
Looks like you can get Vikings on Netflix.
Okay, so I got to look into that because right now I'm watching old episodes of 24. You remember that show?
I love 24.
I love 24. But I'm watching them because I don't have anything else. And I just got, I went back and I got sucked back in, and now I'm watching it on Apple or whatever it is, Disney Plus, which there's ads, and I was trying to update it so I could even pay more so I didn't have to deal with the ads. I can't do it. Maybe I'll call Felger. He'll walk me through how to do it.
What's your favorite season of 24?
Oh, baby. I mean, look. I loved season 8 when he went after Logan with the body armor. I loved that. Like that Logan I loathed, and he was such a good villain. But 6 was good. Like Palmer was an excellent character. Do you have a favorite?
2 and 5 are
2 and 5.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I got to go back and watch 2. I just finished. Which one was 5? Remind me 5.
5 was the one where at the end of 4, when Jack went into hiding from the Chinese, he came back out.
So was his dad? Was that 5?
Yes.
That was a great one. Yeah, that was a good one. I gotta go back. I forget 2. So I've actually
2 was like the atomic bomb that was going to.
Let me tell you, I've been working backwards. So I'm on 3 right now, working backwards, and I wasn't going to necessarily do 2, but now I will.
3 is like an emotional roller coaster.
Okay,
that one's intense.
So is like the one where there were a few of them that you kind of go up and down. I remember 1 wasn't great, but it's early. You go watch Law and Order SVU. Some of those ones aren't great early on, and then it evolves and it gets better. So, all right, any more? That's good. I'll have to check out Vikings. I see you on the board. We'll get back to the calls. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
We're back here, 98.5, the Sports Hub. Yeah, season 2 of 24. I'm going to tell you this, though. And I don't need to tell you, Jeff. I go back and watch the episodes of that series, and it's like I've never seen it before. I'm just as captivated. I did this before. I did this, when they were out, I watched them in the mid-2000s or whenever that was. Then after I got married, we had no kids. We were living in an apartment. We just moved back up here to Walpole. And I spent that summer when I was working at WPRI, like I said, no kids. I rewatched all of them, and I had just as much fun as 7 years earlier when I watched all of them. Now here we are, a dozen years later, whatever it is, and I got, roped into one, and now here I am again, having just as much fun. So I just keep watching them, and I keep having fun, and that's what it's all about. And I've tried some other shows, and it's like, it was all right. Like, what are the few I tried? The Beast Within or The Beast in Me or something like that. Like, there's a Netflix show. Like, it was all right. But then you kind of feel like you wasted time. Like, I don't know. I tried it. It was okay.
What about Breaking Bad?
I did Breaking Bad, and I'll tell you this, not close to 24. It was good.
You watched the whole thing?
The whole thing. I didn't watch Better Call Saul. Watched the whole thing. Did not like. A lot of people liked it more than 24. Not me. Didn't come. It was fine. Didn't come close. I got through it. I wasn't pained by the end of it like I was sort of watching any Sons of Anarchy. Like I said, but I was grinding through the end of that one. But this one, I just always... True story, this is crazy. As a matter of fact, the last episode of Sons of Anarchy, okay, I'm working at WPRI in Providence. So it's like, I don't know, call it a Tuesday night. I worked a day shift, and I'm getting ready to bolt it home to watch the season finale. It's like the series finale of Sons of Anarchy. It's the end of the series. So I get home, I watch it. After the show, they have a real-time interview with Gemma, who was like the biker queen. She was the mother of the main character and one of the main characters in the story. So I watched some of the interview after the show, and I'm looking at the interview. And I'm looking, and I'm like, gosh, why does it look so familiar where she's sitting? Do you know where she was sitting? She was sitting in the WPRI Providence studio, like on the adjacent side of where my desk was in like our little sports office. She was literally around the corner, like out the door, around the corner, like out the door where you are, Jeff, and where this window is or where this TV monitor is. That's where she was sitting. And she had happened to be in Providence for some event, doing whatever, some fun, whatever event it was. And after the show, she got hooked up, got live, and conducted this interview with whatever, I forget what channel it was on, but crazy. All right, back to you. Jack, thanks for holding. Jack's in the car. Hey, Jack. Jacko! We lost Jack. He was in the car. Jack can call back. Greg is in Lincoln. Hey, Greg.
Mark, I know this sounds crazy, and it probably is, but we watched Paul George in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He looked great. He was hitting threes. He was able to get to that left hand. His defense was solid. Overall, long-term, he's not a solution. But for next year, I actually believe he's going to be a better fit for this system because he's a better ball handler. And for what we're trying to do with Missoula ball, that's here to stay apparently, he's better at the three. And I got so sick of watching Jaylen Brown dribble into the left side and get stuck. Like, he just didn't get that much better at it. He's incredible at the things he can do, but just to watch his ball handling and fumbling, and Paul George's going to be a better facilitator, and I think the team's just going to benefit.
All right. Well, hey, Greg, that's good. I mean, I liked Jaylen Brown making all-team, all-NBA second team and being right there for first team and being in the MVP conversation. I don't know. I enjoy MVP conversations when my players are in on those. I like that. Paul George might be a better fit, but his ceiling is a lot lower. So, yeah, the fit could be better, but that doesn't mean you're happier. Okay? There's other things that need to be considered. You know, there's other aspects to the relationship that need to be considered. Yeah, like that's like saying, oh, you'd like dating this woman more because you have more in common with her. Well, that doesn't necessarily, it's nice to have things in common, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'd be happier in the relationship. That's what that says to me. He's a better fit. Yeah, well, that's fine. What's the ceiling for this team? You know, am I going to take solace in the fact that he's a better fit when I know that they're not going to be able to get past the Detroit Pistons in the Eastern Conference semifinals or whatever it is? Oh, he's a better fit, but they're limited in terms of their talent and ultimately what they're able to do in the playoffs. It doesn't do me any good. I think the Celtics will have a fine season next year. I think it's going to be a lot like this year. This year was without Tatum, by and large. Next year is going to be without Brown. I think they'll surprise some people. You know, I think some of the Celtics people are going to kind of be thumping, you know, shaking their ass and, wagging their chest or whatever you want to say at some points during the year because they're going to win a bunch of games in a row because half the league will be tanking, half the league will be load managing. Missoula ball, you know, the three-pointers will start falling in games where it doesn't really matter and they can shoot freely. You know, in the playoffs, that's different, but in the games in the regular season, they can shoot them all and they can make them and we'll have some fun days. Oh, yeah, they're just as good, blah. No, they won't be. Cream rises, playoff time, everyone plays harder, coaches coach harder, and you'll get exposed again. See you later. I can guarantee it. I liked it when they were, even this year. Okay, now I didn't have big expectations for Tatum coming back. Certainly not to the level of some people, and I said it on the air multiple times. I didn't think that Jason Tatum coming back was this, oh, look at this big addition and this new level you're on. Is that Jay-Z at the game? That Jay-Z? Norway. Okay, Jay-Z, a little Norway, Brazil for Jay-Z. I love it. I even with all of that, I thought that because you had Tatum and Brown and some of the pieces around them, that they could have been there to contend truly for a championship. Now, by the time I had no faith they were going to beat the Knicks, by the time the playoffs started going, the Knicks, that was not going to be a situation that they were going to be able to overcome. They were too good. I've been buying in on the Knicks for 2 years. They were too good and they were too hot by the time the Celtics would have faced them, especially after the way that series against the Atlanta Hawks ended. But I still would have enjoyed. For the moment that series started, I would have been able to convince myself that they're familiar enough with the Knicks. And, hey, if the threes do fall, maybe they'll find a way to get a lead in the series and maybe they can close them out. It would have at least been fun, even if they did end up losing, which I thought they would have. That fun is out the window. Because I would have at least believed deep within they had a chance to win it all. They had a chance to beat the Knicks. Would I have picked them? No. But I would have believed wholeheartedly that they did have a chance to beat the Knicks. This spring, if they play that team, the Knicks or a team like that, I will deep down believe they have no chance. So anything that they do that's productive, I won't be able to enjoy as much. Now, maybe that's my problem. Maybe that's a me problem. But I won't be able to enjoy it as much because deep down I'll know, based on the facts, not these, made up analytics that just pump a narrative that you want to. No. Based on the real data of teams losing top players, that they're not going to have enough to overcome a team as good as the Knicks. And I'll know that. So anything good they do, I'll take with a grain of salt, and I won't have as much fun as a result. That's why I'm bummed. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Need a new roof? It's East Coast Metal Roofing's Beat the Heat promotion. Reference Felger, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Anything like that.
Back here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Jose is in Easton. Hey, Jose.
Hey, Mark. Yeah. So I want to give you a round of applause for the outrage you had when you first gave your reaction on Felger and Matt last week. Because I think most fans, or at least most logical fans feel the way you feel, pissed off about this trade. And I want to know what your thoughts are about how much road are we giving Brad and Joe Mazzulla here, because if you can recall, Luka was traded, and the fans did not let up. They carried those pitchforks in the stands in the stadium, basically saying "Fire, Nico." You remember that?
Yep.
And when does that like how much outrage are we having on this trade here? Because I'm already starting to hear the table turn like that last caller who's talking about, oh, yeah, if you look at it this way, Paul George is going to be a better fit. And, the Celtics fans are starting to talk themselves into accepting the trade, which is insane to me. You know what I mean? The trade should never happen. So I'm just curious your thoughts. When is it a fireable offense?
Okay, so that's a great question, Jose, and that will be something that we're going to have to parse out as we go along here. I think that, now I don't know exactly, obviously I'm not following what Nico Harrison did with the Mavericks as intimately as I am Brad Stevens. I think Brad Stevens has at least built up enough capital for fans to, accept the fact that this move happened, even if they don't like it, but are willing to still kind of give him a chance to see what he makes of this. Whether it's via the Paul George or the picks that he got, or making another move to help support further Jason Tatum being being without his Robin, if you want to call it that. And I also think it's going to help that the Celtics are going to be good. They're not going to be a dumpster fire like the Mavericks were. Now, obviously it helped, or it didn't help Dallas that Kyrie Irving ended up hurt, and, Anthony Davis could never get on the floor and stay on the floor. I think the Celtics are going to remain good. I think the fan base is pretty, the green teamers. I think a lot of them are going to be okay with the fact that they're just good and not contending for a championship. And I think that'll buy Brad Stevens time to continue to do what he's doing. I think a lot of people like Brad, and I'm one of them. I like Brad. I trust Brad. There'll be a lot less patient with the owner if they feel like the owner is the one cutting the fat and making Brad make some of these moves. And again, we'll hear what this press conference sounds like tomorrow. But I just feel like some of these things are going to be interesting. They're going to be interesting in terms of how they play out in the future. And I just think Brad Stevens, the pitchforks that Jose was talking about with Nico Harrison, I don't think they're going to be as intense with Brad Stevens. In large part because he has helped them win a championship. He's made some great moves over the course of his career here. A lot of people like Brad and they trust him, and I think that's going to carry him to a point. Okay? However, if this ends up some line of demarcation and the Celtics can never get back, or, they look okay and then it just completely, like, for example, the Bill Belichick Patriots. Okay, if something like that happens, where in 2020 Cam Newton comes in, they're okay. What were they in that year? 7-9? Not a complete and utter disaster. You're trying to replace Brady. It's, Cam Newton. He's limited. COVID. The 7-9 wasn't. Then it became, Mac Jones starts hot, bad game in the playoffs, and then from there it bottomed out. If they have a bottoming out, I don't know if because of this trade, they will be as patient with Brad Stevens, and then you might see some movement there. Whether it's his decision, but the fans, I think, will lose patience quickly if they see this trending in the wrong direction. And this was obviously a signature moment for his career. I think, it's interesting. I'll remember it. I remember it like it was yesterday. Theo Epstein press conference after he traded Nomar Garciaparra, and him saying that, this was going to be a defining moment in his career. Now, did it end up being that? Yes, in a good way. Would it have ever been a defining moment in a bad way? I guess it could have. But in the moment, he thought, this is my career right here. And Nomar was huge. Now, I understand he wasn't, by that point, he was kind of a pain in the ass. He was injured. He was, not really. There were other things going on. But it was still in the moment a defining time in Theo Epstein's career. And I think this is it's the same thing with Brad Stevens right now. Can they overcome it enough where they can find, what it's going to be about for him now is can they find their way back into contention? Not winning a championship. That's not on the table. But can they find their way back to legitimate contention where you, the fan, believe at your core that this team can win a championship? Doesn't mean they will. Okay, it's hard to win a championship. Especially now in the NBA, we see every team. When was the last time a team repeated? 2015, 16? Or 17, 18, whenever it was with the Kevin Durant Warriors. They just need to get back to they're a contender again. Even if they don't get over the hump and win it, can they become a contender again? If they can continue to flirt with that and having a good regular season will help, it will mean nothing to me. But if you're talking about the overwhelming amount of pitchforks out for Brad's job, if they keep winning 50 games, you're not going to hear as much outcry for Brad Stevens. You will from me all over this move just because I think this takes them off the table, the contenders table. Okay, so I'll never be satisfied with this move. But there probably will be I don't want to speak for other people, but I would guess or bet there are other fans out there that if they could win 50 games and make the playoffs and make a little bit of a noise and do that, that'll be good enough. And it won't be enough to be calling for Brad Stevens' job, which I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying this is a big moment, and I don't think they're contenders anymore. And Brad Stevens is the one that made the trade. And I don't love what he got back. There's a lot, but that's where I'm at, and we'll see where this goes. I do still Brad has made too many good moves. This goes back to the Jason Tatum consistency thing. He's been consistently good. So I still have faith. If he had been up and down, and then he did this, I wouldn't have had the faith. But he's been consistently good. So I stay faithful to Brad Stevens, at least for now. And then we see what happens with the team. We see what we hear. We see where everything goes, and then we'll make our assessments as we go along. But for now, I'm going to continue to trust Brad Stevens, even though I do think he made a mistake here. I wish they handled it better. And I don't think that they're true contenders for a championship anymore because of this deal directly. So, I don't know the facts. I don't know if he was just operating, following orders or what. But that's it. If you want to get into final words, 617-779-0985. A thought on the World Cup and Team USA and the break that they got going into tomorrow's massive game. We'll talk about that. We'll finish up with that. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
All right, back here, 98.5 The Sports Hub. World Cup. I'll tell you what I'm most interested in this World Cup. I'm going to look it up right now. I am most interested. I love analyzing greatness. And I don't know if you knew this. Obviously, you know that Lionel Messi is a great player. Do you know the only significant thing that he hasn't won in his career? He's basically won everything else. He's won, multiple championships in the Premier League, the Champions League, Player of the Year, the Ballon d'Or. He has won the World Cup, obviously, last year. Or, not last year, in 2022, the last time they had it. What he has never won, though, all the Player of the Year awards, the Golden whatever, he's never won the Golden Boot. That's the only award he's never won that I would consider, a significant award. That's the most goals in the World Cup, the leading goal scorer in the World Cup. He's never won it. He's tied right now for the league with Mbappe. Now, Mbappe is the one who denied him that award last time. I think he had one or two more than Messi did in 2022. Right now, they both have 7 goals. Haaland has 5, so we'll see if he gets one today. Right now, Haaland's playing for Norway. If Messi can, I don't know if they both give him the boot, if they tie, so maybe he could get it that way. But if they both get, if he's able to win that I think it's the Golden Boot, that will be really the last thing he hasn't won that he would win. I mean, what a career. I mean, especially in soccer with all the talent and everybody around the world. To have a guy that's literally won everything you could win. I mean, I don't know if there's anybody else that's done that. Won every award, won at every level for every league. I mean, has he won an MLS? Who cares about the MLS? It's a retirement home in Messi's eyes. But here it's a big deal. So you can talk about his, tack on his MLS accomplishments to it, but because I think he's won an MVP in the MLS too. But in terms of the big European leagues, he's won all the championships. He's won at the World Cup. He's been the Player of the Year. He's done it all, except for this. So I'm following this Golden Boot race here. I'm so glad that Balogun got overturned, that red card got overturned. I thought that was a garbage call. They need to fix that. You cannot have somebody, because of incidental contact, be missing a game. It's one thing if you want to bench them for that game, the remainder of that game, or for a period of time in the game it happens in. You can't then sit them down for the next game. That's ridiculous. The NBA has it more correct when they do their flagrant fouls. For example, if somebody gets into the space, the airspace of the shooter, the landing space of the shooter, and they get a flagrant foul, you need more than one of those to be suspended for a game. Especially those series in the NBA playoffs aren't single elimination, obviously, unless it's game 7. So this was the right move. Okay, Balogun, this should have been overturned. He should be playing in this game. He was punished enough for having to sit out the entire last half of the last game. This was the right move. He should be in. This is America's moment. This is huge for soccer. They need to be at full strength. You need him in there. That's the right move. That was the right move, and it's going to be great for the game. I don't know enough about Belgium. I know they're worthy of respect. Obviously, you don't make it this far. They've been a good guy. I thought a lot of people thought Senegal was actually better, and they were for most of that game until they choked away the lead. So we'll see. I expect the U.S. to win. I've gotten so cocky. Like I said, though, I take something out of the fact that Australia made a little bit of a run and that Paraguay just lost 1-0 to France in the round of 16. That means something to me. That tells me that these teams the U.S. have faced are legit. These weren't just some patsies. Legit. I don't even, if they win the World Cup, I don't even know what I'll do, how I'll feel. Admittedly, soccer's not my top sport. I enjoy it, but I just think it's so far down on the list. There's just too many other things I'm interested in. And I love international competition, but hockey is first. Then the World Baseball Classic. Then I enjoy Olympic basketball and USA basketball. And that's probably on the same tier with soccer just because we haven't been that good. You know, I have a friend that really got into soccer. So I kind of, leaned on him for different information. I don't know what I'll do if they win, how I'll feel. It'll be fun to watch it and to, have that. I mean, I remember watching the women when they won the World Cup in 99. And I didn't even know there was a Women's World Cup in 1990, at that age when I was 12 years old. But I remember my dad turned it on and we were both there watching it like it was the Red Sox with Pedro in Game 7 of the World Series. We couldn't leave. The PKs were captivating. I love PKs. I hope the U.S. wins on PKs. Won't be fun in the moment, but it will be. It's just captivating to me and I love watching it. So we'll see. This could be the dawn of a new era for men's soccer in America here. So, exciting. Speaking of exciting, we'll see what happens at that press conference tomorrow. I can't wait to hear how that unfolds and what answers they try to give. And, if we're going to be satisfied with what they say. I'm glad they're doing it tomorrow. Not that much time has elapsed where it's still fresh enough in people's minds. Emotions are still running high, I think, enough where I'm hoping we get some good stuff, good questions, good answers, and have stuff to assess and analyze based on how they viewed this trade. All right, Jeff, thanks, man. Happy 4th of July weekend, America.
This is Boston's home for sports. Touchdown!